Hi, Sophia. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, Muskan. Delighted to be here, and I am good sitting in gloomy Copenhagen right now. But yeah, so far so good. Excited for our conversations.
I guess I'll agree to the gloomy part here also, but moving on, making it a bit more happy and bright. Let's
Yeah.
just start by your introduction. Tell us about yourself.
All right, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I'm presenting Azendo as the Chief Marketing Officer, and Azendo is a Chiang Mai-based but Danish-owned company. And I work there as a chief marketing officer. And at Azendo, we help companies hire, build, fully manage, and operate offshore teams in our Chiang Mai office. So at Azendo, we believe in the power of global talents, regardless of geographical boundaries. So we offer our clients all the ease of hiring remote, and at the same time, all the benefits of hiring on site as well. So think about this as empowering businesses to scale and achieve cost savings, and at the same time maintain operational excellence without compromising on the quality of talents. So as the Chief Marketing Officer at Azendo, my role is to lead Azendo's positioning, messaging, and public perception to ensure our continuous growth. It is a very exciting industry with a lot of misconceptions, as you might know. So there's a lot of misconceptions to educate about, but also lots of potentials to realize. So I'm very passionate about sharing our expertise.
Wow. I mean, it is. I guess it's very different from what I've really heard and discussed in the past few episodes because, let's say this is a niche sort of a market wherein not that common, but at the same time solving a very big problem in the market, right? So
Oh,
let's
definitely.
just yeah, let's just start with something as simple as identifying the target audience for a niche market because usually we know how the pattern goes, but is it really the same as with the other industries? How do you really identify your target audience?
Yeah, you are right about that. So outsourcing or offshore staffing as a niche. So the outsourcing industry in itself is a very exciting, but also a very challenging industry to be in because it requires how to say the perfect combination between creativity, strategic thinking, and a very deep understanding of the target audience as well as the
Yeah.
industry dynamics. So to your question, whether or not there is anything in particular that differentiates between how you identify target audience within the niche market compared to others, I would say it in um, holistically it is similar. It is an approach that combines market research, data analysis, and good old human connections. So what I mean by that is that you start with a deep understanding of your own strength and what sets you apart from the rest.
Hmm.
Um, it is finding the clarity of what specific value you bring to the table that will guide your targeting effort. So once you've nailed that, it becomes easier to identify the business and the industries that crave your expertise. And then you deep dive into your industry and analyze the different segments within the markets. And in that, you look for specific needs, specific pain points, or emerging trends. And that
Hmm.
research will help you identify the niche audience that aligns best with your services.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
just
I
thought
guess I
that.
guess I guess very rightly said because I think so. And this process never ends because it might also happen that you start with a thought process, but in between, or let's say even after years, people might understand that, okay, this was not really working or this is not the direction that they want to go in. And then they might want to, let's say, sort of uh, rebrand or change the direction that they're working in. And I think so that is better than moving forward in the wrong direction. Just stop there, do your research again, take that customer feedback seriously and then move ahead. I guess it's very important for both whether it's a service market or a product market, anything. I think so that really is very important. But moving ahead, what would you say are these some effective strategies to really research and understand what are the needs and preferences of a niche market like yours?
Oh, okay. So building on the previous questions about identifying audience in a niche market,
Hmm.
when it comes to truly understanding the needs and the preference of our niche market is about getting up close and personal.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that you need to have conversations with your target audience. You have to peer into the world, grasp their unique challenges in order to offer them a tailored solution that make them say, this is exactly what we need. And how do you do that? As I said, you dive headfirst into conversations with your existing clients, but also industry experts. You take time to listen, ask all the right questions,
Hmm.
and see this as a journey of discovery where you have the opportunity to uncover the pain points, the aspirations, the challenges, the opportunities, and then you, of course, combine that with your extensive in-depth market research that we also spoke about earlier to uncover any industry trends, emerging challenges, or evolving expectations in the market. So for instance, here at Azendo, we actively participate in industry forums, we attend events, conferences, and then we engage with thought leaders to gain a deeper understanding of any specific requirements within those niche industries that our target clients are in. And so these interactions provide a very valuable insights to us and allow us to refine our strategies to meet the unique demands. Um, and when all comes to all, right, client feedback is a goldmine of information. So start there. Start with
Hmm.
your existing clients. Actively seek feedback with them. Listen attentively. Ask all the right questions, and leverage that to continually improve.
Right. I guess very rightly said, Sophia, because I think so. I think so. It goes all the way, right? But at the same time, this just made a question pop in my head that, there is a role that content marketing plays every time there's a campaign or there's an industry that we're trying to get into, right? So, what is that role that content marketing plays in really reaching out and engaging a niche audience? And now you must have some successful content marketing strategies to really go with that. So what are these?
Yeah, absolutely. Content marketing is indeed a very powerful tool, especially when it comes to engaging with a niche audience.
Hmm.
And I guess, or not, I guess, I believe that it's all about creating high value content
Hmm.
and high value content that not only educates but also resonate deeply with the pain points, challenges, and the opportunities with your target clients that they are facing.
Hmm.
So let me think about, let me share with you some successful content marketing strategies that have been proven effective when it comes to what we have done here at Ascendo.
Sure.
Um, so first and foremost, of course, it is crucial to understand the specific needs and challenges of your target audience within
Hmm.
the industry that they are in. So we spoke about conducting an in-depth market research and actively seeking client feedback to gain
Right.
those valuable insights. So this knowledge forms the foundation of the content strategy, right?
Hmm.
To effectively reach them and connect with them, we need to develop content that provides actionable solutions and address directly those pain points head on. And that those content strategies could take form of insightful industry insights, case studies, thought leadership articles that showcase your
Hmm.
expertise and demonstrate your ability to deliver results. So another thing to content marketing is also collaboration. You
Right.
could also partner up with industry influencers, inviting guest experts to contribute to bring forward your content, bring fresh perspective and enhance the credibility of your messaging. So, and also as a, how to say, as a positive, a side note to this, this collaborative approach to content marketing also help you tap into new networks, expand our reach, which is what we want, and
Right.
then eventually establish ourselves as trusted authorities in the space that our business is in. And interactive formats like this that we are doing now, webinars, live Q&A sessions, virtual events, physical events, also play a vital role in engaging with our audience, niche or not. And this format allows us to also address these specific client pain points, questions, and provide personalized insight, and also builds relationships based on our expertise, and then build trust. So I think in all of this, what I would like to so what is also important for me to say in this is that authenticity and relevance are really the pillars of successful content marketing, whether we're talking about a niche market or not. So it is also about staying true to your brand voice, your brand values, build this genuine trust and connection with the industry that you're targeting.
Right.
And ensure that your content speaks directly to their unique need and challenges. And then offering them those actionable advice that they can implement in their own business.
No, very rightly said, because I think so. We, as a podcast production agency, we always say that content is the king, because podcast being a top of the funnel activity, we know that content has to be authentic here, because content is there, right? It's becoming exhaustive and very oversalesy already in the market out there. So why does a podcast stand out? We always say because it helps you make conversations, which in turn helps you make content. So I guess it's all about the content that you're making and how authentic you can keep it. Very rightly said, Sophia. Now, that also reminded me, or made me think of a very small question, like a sub question in between that. Now for these niche markets, how important is this networking that you were talking about? Like, because, you need to make connections, you need to make more new clients. So, how important is networking?
I think networking, if content marketing is the king, then networking is the queen. So speaking, because they both are tapping into the need and the desire to create and build genuine connections and build genuine understanding of each other's point of views, pain
Right.
points, challenges, and figuring out how in the best possible way tailor a solution that addresses those pain points and offering the practical solution to those businesses. So definitely networking. If content marketing is the king, then networking definitely helps the king.
I guess that sums up the whole thing, because that really explains the importance of it altogether. So, now jumping to a topic that's more complex than it would really sound: rebranding. I mean, just to say it in a word, that word itself is so heavy, because you've already built a brand, you've built a company now to a brand, and then to just stop there, take a breath, and then do it all over again, because obviously rebranding requires you to have a 360, because again you're putting the same kind of efforts, again you're trying to solve those same questions which you started with. But I don't know how late it is or how early it is, but that question still remains, that even after rebranding, will this work, will this company still work, or is this the right direction that we're going into? So moving to that, what could be the key possible reasons, Sophia, that a company would consider rebranding?
Oh, I would love to answer this question, because this is exactly what we have been doing for the past year and a half.
Oh.
Let's just start by agreeing that rebranding is a very complex process, and it's more than just a logo change. It's more than just revamping your logo, your brand sets.
Hmm.
Doing that is simply just a brand refresh.
Right.
Rebranding is really like shedding your old skin and embracing a new identity.
Hmm.
Is a really exciting opportunity that allows companies like Azendo to redefine or even reinvent ourselves
Hmm.
in making and a lasting impact in the industry.
Right.
So back to your question, there are quite a few key reasons why a company might consider rebranding, and of course that all depends on where they are in, uh, uh, and, and it all depends on where they are in their journey,
Hmm.
and what market conditions. But some of the few key reasons could be one of the few key reasons to why a company might consider rebranding. It could be that they want to expand into new markets. They are adapting to changing industry or dynamics, which I'm going to tell you a little bit later. This is one of the reasons why Azendo has been executing on a rebranding,
Hmm.
or this is why Azendo has been on a rebranding journey for the past year. Um, some other key reason could be that they simply want to embrace a fresh vision for the future.
Hmm.
And the goals can also different depending on what key reason for that rebranding. It could be to attract new customers, to stay relevant, to stay connected to existing customers, to strengthen their market positioning, and to stand out from the competition. So if we take Ascendo as an example to illustrate the power of rebranding, we started our journey at Ascendo actually in 2010 as a digital marketing and a web agency. So we were
Wow.
definitely not an offshore staffing company going
Hmm.
into this.
Hmm.
We recognize as we go that there was an emerging trend among our clients that they got interested in completely offshore their marketing and web development functions instead of acquiring those services on a project base from us.
Okay.
They saw the strategic advantage of accessing a pool of global talent for
Hmm.
much less compared to hiring on site. And and we embrace this opportunity fully. So it led us to make this bold decision to rebrand and completely shift our focus entirely to offshore staffing. So by this rebranding, we had the opportunity to position ourselves as a trusted partner
Hmm.
in the offshore staffing industry. So
Wow.
it breathed new life into our identity and allow us to tell our story in a fresh and exciting way.
Hmm.
So yeah, and this is also thanks to this rebranding that you and I are having this conversation right now,
I
right?
guess.
Yeah,
Then thanks to that. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
as
because we
tough as it
actually,
might be.
yeah, because this branding also led us to our collaboration with Mountas.com, which is our shared industry peer.
Hmm.
So with our rebranding, Ascendo also became a trusted partner for businesses who look to scale the business and grow the teams offshore. It helped us differentiate ourselves from our previous competitors, and it also helped us establish a strong market presence and attract new clients in our new industry. So,
Hmm.
in a nutshell, rebranding is a very powerful tool that can transform a company,
Hmm.
and can transform how a company is perceived and positioned in the industry, and
Right.
it allows companies to redefine and reinvent themselves.
Wow. I mean, I guess for a startup also, I mean, this just came to my head that for a startup also, it is important to, first of all, start with a very strong message or let's say vision. But at the same time, now they have that sort of, let's say, capacity or freedom to, really go, even if it's an year that they've started or two, they can somewhere or the other juggle with their thoughts and, sort of add a few services or products to their already existing market, and and still keep building. But for a brand that has been there in the market since, let's say, a year like 2010, that is actually, we go way back there, right? So to
Yeah.
change it altogether, it's a very difficult job, but at the same time, as you said, it's a very powerful tool to have, because now you have the whole world at your feet, right? Because you can choose how to narrate the story of your brand, how to re-narrate it, how to change it maybe.
Mhm.
And at the same time, now that Ascendo has done a bit of rebranding itself, does it feel any different, or like when do you start seeing the difference?
Oh, we started seeing the difference as soon as we introduced the idea of rebranding.
Wow.
And because, rebranding means transformation, as I just mentioned. It means reinvent yourself. It means
Hmm.
to reiterate. It means a chance to revamp yourself. And
Right.
with that comes a lot of changes. And as human beings, we are not the most comfortable with facing or adapting to changes.
Hmm.
So definitely the first thing, or the first time we felt any difference was the first time we introduced the idea of doing a rebranding, a complete rebranding of the company.
So now that you've been doing it, Sophia, you must already know that there has to be some sort of alignment to what you're doing and what now you need to bring in to bring some change, right? So how important is it to really align the rebranding or your rebranding strategy with the overall business strategy that's been building and the objectives that has been going around, and what role exactly does strategic planning play in the rebranding process?
Oh, where do we start? Okay, so Muscat, another great question. Um, I think let's start by looking at rebranding as part of the business objectives, as part of our long-term goals. As I mentioned, rebranding is the opportunity to reinvent yourself, to reestablish your long-term existence in the industry,
Mhm.
among other things. So it is crucial, it is pivotal to to align the branding effort with the long-term goals and long-term business objectives. Okay, so before you initiate any rebranding process, you of course need to ask yourself a lot of deep and clarifying questions. You need to define what is the clear objectives and goals and what
Mm.
success look like for a rebranding for your company. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve through this rebranding? Is it about gaining competitive edge? It is reconnecting with your target audience after 10 years of the same product, the same services, the same branding? Is it expanding into complete new markets and new territories? Or do you want to reposition your brand? So how do you want your existing, but also new how do you want your existing, but also new customers to feel about your company and your brand? And
Mm.
what are what are the outcomes of this process? And what does the criteria for the successful reap look like?
Right.
So I think your question is already um, I think your question already strongly imply that strategic planning it is
Mm.
the backbone of a rebranding process, and it is the backbone of a successful rebranding because
Right.
it guides every decisions and ensures that every element align with your business vision.
Mm.
So, I'm referring back to what I said earlier about conducting in-depth market analysis, competitor research, research about your customers, asking for feedback from your existing customers. Um,
Right.
so by connecting those dots or
Mm.
connecting the dots between all these, you can make informed decisions that support your long-term goals.
Wow. And by doing that, I think so there must be some potential challenges, or let's say risks, that might be involved with this rebranding effort that we're doing, right? So how can companies sort of mitigate, or like yeah, right, like mitigate these risks and ensure a successful transition?
Yeah, so what I mentioned before about the first time we experienced any changes in our rebranding or as part
Mm,
of our rebranding was the first time we introduced the idea of rebranding, right? So a rebranding journey sounds thrilling, sounds exciting, but it definitely comes with challenges and risk. Um,
right.
as I also said earlier, a brand transformation start with a deep understanding of your company's core value.
Mm,
And that reflects a commitment from everyone to those core values. And it concerns those commitment towards the objectives behind the change. So even though undergoing a rebranding initiative is a very exciting journey for company, it involves significant risk of resistance
mm,
from stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders, because
right.
as human beings, we are not comfortable with change. So
True.
resistance, yeah. So so getting resistance from stakeholders, including employees, management, even
Mm,
even your most loyal customers, it can have a negative impact on the rebranding effort.
mm,
So I think it is important to talk about like why are people resistant for change? Is because they fear the unknown. So how can we then mitigate um, those fears?
mm,
We can start by involving all those stakeholders from the get-go, create a sense of shared ownership, and create a sense of buy-in. We
mm,
need to engage them in the process from the get-go, seek their
right.
input, ask for their concerns, right?
Mm,
Ask for their ideas, and by asking those questions and engaging with them, you alleviate the potential for resistance, and you help build support for your rebranding initiatives. So um, yeah, so as a note to that, it's also about being transparent and being open, communicate openly about the reasons behind the rebranding and what are the benefits that we envision for that rebranding. Because talking about the reasons behind the rebranding
mm,
with your stakeholders also help address any doubts and confusions that they have for why are we doing this? We have been existing and operating and fully functioning for the past 10 years. So why should we do that?
right.
Yeah. And I think another a big challenge that company facing when they are taking on a rebranding journey as something very exciting is that they tend to not understand the crucial importance of aligning your rebranding with your target audience.
Right.
So yeah, because your rebranding efforts might not resonate at all with your intended audience, and this is also what we see often with huge brands and huge
Mm,
rebranding efforts globally. So an in-depth customer research and analysis are essential to understanding whether or not you actually should kickstart a rebranding initiative and how you're
mm,
going to do that. Um, and understanding those preferences and needs and expectations of your customers is crucial.
right. I guess very rightly said, because from your expressions itself, Sophia, I mean, because you've been through it, it just seemed that when I brought the question up about challenges, you were literally into it. You were like, okay, I get it. I'm coming from
Definitely.
there. It's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on in my
yeah.
head right now. And because
Yeah,
I
we
think so
just
when
came
you
on the other side. Yeah.
right. I mean, when you go through these roadblocks and challenges, you don't really feel anything, because now you can talk about it. But while I would have, if I would have asked you in that process, during that process, I don't think so. You would have been that confident, or like telling me that, okay, we did this, or these are the
But
things or
also
challenges
calm.
that could come.
Yeah, I
Exactly. I
would
mean, I
not
think
have
so.
been that calmly speaking
Yeah.
about those challenges.
which definitely says that you need to be very patient with this process, because you could literally be like, here we go again, but now you have to do it, you have to go
Yeah.
through the whole process, which
Oh,
brings
definitely.
me to the one of the last questions, really, that you mentioned something when I asked that the effects, or let's say the results you see from the first day of rebranding itself, right? So related to that only, now how can a company really measure the success of a rebranding effort? Like what are the really metrics or indicators that we should monitor to assess the impact that it's been creating, the rebranding of a company?
Hmm. Okay, so another great question, Muskan. So, measuring the impact is, of course, the moment of truth, right? Because all those efforts, all those plannings, all those struggles, challenges, going into this rebranding and planning and executing on this rebranding, we must be able to look ourselves and look each other in the eyes and understand and agree on whether or not it is a success and in what way it is a success. But it is such a hard thing to do, before, during, and after as well. But
Hmm.
uh, some definitely those, how to say, measuring the impact efforts should be established before going into this, as I mentioned,
Hmm.
is to understand what we're trying to achieve and in what way. But some key metrics and indicators that we should monitor could be, of course, the obvious one is brand awareness and brand perception.
Hmm.
um, and how are we going to understand whether or not we have achieved an increase in brand awareness and a better and stronger brand perception, or is simply to ask your existing clients and ask your potential clients that you are in conversations with. You
Yeah.
can do surveys, you can monitor social media mentions, you of
Hmm.
course track your website traffic, to assess the change in your brand awareness. Are more people recognizing and engaging with your brand after the rebranding, and has the sentiment around your brand improved since that? Yeah. So as part of conducting survey is of course also to your existing clients, maybe also consider interview them to understand their perception of our rebranding. Are they positively responding to our changes? Are they
Hmm.
satisfied with the new effort that we're putting in after our rebranding? Because this insight, this feedback, how to say, gives insight into whether or not our rebranding has been successful when it comes to strengthening our positioning in the market.
Right.
And then, of course, are we requiring new clients? And are we converting leads into uh, and are we converting leads into paying clients in a higher rate than
Hmm.
before? Of course, you look at those numbers, um, and that's also one way to assess whether you have been effectively positioned your company in the market after the rebranding. And another obvious one is, of course, the financial indicators, our revenue
Right.
growth, customer retention rates, etc.
Hmm.
So, of course, you look at those things, those obvious things, to assess whether or not your all your big effort in doing the rebranding, winning over stakeholders, buy-in, mitigate risk and resistance, have been worth it.
True. I guess that would be the ROI that you can get from anything, and
Yeah.
like as the best measurable output, right? But now, my last question to you, Sophia, would be that, okay, now you have done rebranding again, and it's going, okay, it happened. But what if it still didn't work? Like, what if that also doesn't work for a brand? I mean, that would be sad. A lot of effort again would have gone in, but again, if it's not just really working, what then?
Then you iterate, then you pivot, then you'll ask your customers, then you'll ask your employees, then you engage in those conversations to gain deep insight into what is not working. And then you try again. And there's no other way to navigate yourself out of how to say learnings. Everything is a learning experience, and I don't see how to say an unsuccessful rebranding as a failure. It's a
Hmm.
learning. Everything is a learning opportunity, and you ask more questions, you ask better questions to understand what you missed the first time, and you learn from that, and then you try
Loved
again.
that.
Because
Loved
this
that
time
totally.
you even yeah, because this time you're even more clever, you have more experience with what you should
Hmm.
do and should not do.
I mean, failure is definitely the best teacher, right? So, I mean, you only
Yeah.
learn and learn even if you fail. So, I guess that was a great advice for this episode. But sadly, coming to an end, it was a great conversation. I had so much fun talking to you. So nice of you to come to our show, and I hope we have more such conversations in the future. But thank you so much, Sophia, for coming in and joining us on this episode.
Thank you so much for the invite, Muskan. I really enjoy this. And I hope that our share audience will enjoy our conversation, and and us thinking through the topics of rebranding for growth.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you once again for letting me part of this podcast, and I look forward to more collaboration in the future with you and podcasters.com.
Thank you. Same here.